Let's take a look at how to make sure that we're working with our hip flexor rather than taking the load and reassigning it from here. Our hip flexor is at the kind of where your pockets are on your pants to where your back pockets are, which is your glute medius muscle. So we tend to shift the load from the front to the back. What I want you to do is to lay on your side. Now, if your hamstring is really tight and it feels like it won't come all the way up to 90 degrees, just bend your knee a little bit so that you can bring the leg as a direct extension so it's perpendicular to the body. From here, you can see where my waist is, clearly where my pants and my shirt meet. What I want you to do is take your hand and feel where your hip bone is and manually roll. I'm going to use both hands so you can see this. I'm rolling my hip away from my ribs. So my whole pelvis, this top part of my pelvis is going down and away from the trunk here. Now notice the rest of the joints follow. That's perfectly fine. Roll the hip down, let the knee kind of roll up towards the ceiling. And it should feel like there's some space here, like your waist is getting longer. So just give it a couple rolls. As we go through the sequence, this is a really critical movement because anytime, especially when you're in a single leg position, the hip is going to want to shorten up like this. So you're going to have to manually adjust this when you're in those positions. So roll. So if you hear me say roll the hip as we're going through class, this is what I'm referring to. Roll. Again, the waist should feel like it's getting longer, the knee should be rolling up towards the ceiling, or when you're in a different position, the knee should feel like it's rolling out. So let's look at that now. From standing. So in the full class, you have the option of holding your toe. This is a little bit more complicated. And again, when you come and start to hold the knee and balance on the single leg, the hip might start to hike right away. So roll the hip. It's the same thing. You can see where my waist is. I want to make this part longer. I'm going to roll my hip down. And I can even exaggerate this by rolling the knee out. So again, the hip is hiking. We don't want this. Roll it down and out. So again, just give that a couple tries. Roll, roll, roll. Now, once we're in this position, this is where we want to work with the hip down, making the thigh bone move independently. So you're not jacking up the hip. You're not moving with these two pieces together. You're trying to single out the thigh bone to make it work by itself. Lastly, let's take a look at this action when we're in a standing position with one leg forward and one leg back. From here, again, notice how this part of my body is getting short. So we need to do the same adjustment. Now, what I'm going to do is swing my butt the opposite direction, and then watch how this starts to open up. So my knee is rolling out, and my hip is swinging the opposite direction. Okay? Roll, roll, roll. So again, doing what we can to make sure that the waist is getting some more space. And then once that hip has turned, rolled out, we should be a little bit flatter, and both of the hip bones should be even.